Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from Much Comment 1327 from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit. And it says, am I the arsehole for denying my ex his son after he abandoned us? And I took the choice alone to give him up for adoption. Throwaway, so get your this is fake because new account comments out early. I, 32 female, had a baby boy when I was 16. Yes, I know how that sounds. Like, no, we weren't careful. Judge me all you want on that front. I've dealt with that for years. Mike, 33 male, was my boyfriend then, and when I found out about my pregnancy, he did a disappearing act with help from his family. Something, future college star, something. My parents were always blunt. What happened next was my choice. After a lot of thinking and deciding abortion just wasn't for me. I respect that right, I'm not here to debate it, it was just not for me. I chose to give up the baby for adoption. My parents knew a super sweet couple that were looking to adopt. We met and I just knew that they were the right people. This turned from a teen mistake to an almost surrogacy. I started homeschool to finish my education and to have rest. The adoptive parents were with me for everything and even paid for most of the medical costs. The adoptive mother was a teacher, so she helped me with my schoolwork and to prepare for college. They were present for the birth and I refused to hold the baby. Instead, his actual mother did. And it was just right. I've stayed in the baby's life in a distant position as a special aunt. Well, he's no longer a baby and he knows who I am, but his mum is the same woman that raised him and I continue to be his special aunt. The only change is now he knows who to call if he needs a kidney. His sense of humor is like mine. Go figure. We talk maybe once in a blue moon, which in all honesty is the best. He's happy and I don't regret giving him up to have a happy life. For my part, I married 6 years ago. My husband, Aaron, 44 male, was divorced in good terms with Bella, 40 female. They have 2 children together, a boy that is 16 and a girl that is 19. Aaron has made it clear since we began dating that his kids' approval was important and that Bella was a part of his life forever. Not as a spouse, but as a friend and mother to his children. I also told Bella and him about my teen pregnancy. Well, to begin with the kids, my stepdaughter and I get along well. She's obviously closer to her mother, but she still does girls' days with me every so often. It's more like friends though. My stepson is incredibly close to me. He calls me his other mum and always asks me to be present for important events. We bonded when his childhood dog passed away, as my cat died about the same time. Bella and I, we are best friends. I know people have complicated relationships with their partner's exes, but we always show respect to each other. I never tried to take her place. I know Aaron and her shared something special long before I was in the picture. That's their history, and I'm a stepmom, not a mum. Her place in the kid's life is not up for competition. The reason for this background is that the whole mess with Mike started when I took my stepson to a medical appointment. It wasn't serious, though he did have to use anesthesia. Aaron and Bella both couldn't get the day off. They tried, but their jobs were on call, and they cannot easily take time off. So I went on my own to be my stepson's support. I didn't recognize Mike as one of the doctors. His real name, both first and last name, are incredibly common, and it's been years. Not to mention my priority was being my stepson's support, and everything else was secondary. After my stepson was done, he was a bit out of it as expected. I was setting him up in the car and making sure he was comfortable when Mike came over. He told me he'd been thinking about me and our son for so long, and he was glad our boy was okay. It really took a few minutes for my brain to click on what was going on, and he kept on rambling about apologies and how he wasn't ready to be a father, blah blah blah. Eventually I just sighed and loudly said, "This is not the baby I was pregnant with. I gave him up for adoption after I gave birth. I'm a stepmother." My loopy stepson chimed in with, "Other mum." I had to hold back a smirk to be honest. Mike was stunned by that and it gave me time to catch him up on the important details. I gave up the baby. He knows what happened and why I gave him up. I married a man with 2 children. I'm happy and don't want him in my life. And no, I won't give him contact information for the adoptive family. He is 16 years too late. That was the end of it. and I got into my car to get my stepson home to rest. Since then, Mike's found me on social media and has been painting this sob story about me denying him a chance to be a father, how I was a poor mother and threw away a child to raise someone else's children. I'm basically the she-devil apparently. Most of our former classmates that saw the post reminded him that he left me. Some of his high school friends even pointed out he laughed about leaving me pregnant. I didn't know that part. A few of his relatives have reached out to bash me about taking Mike's chance to be a father, that it made me a poor Christian. I'm not. I'm Jewish to begin with. A few friends did tell me it was a bitch move to give up the baby without telling Mike. I don't personally think I was in the wrong, but in case, I decided to leave the judgment to the internet masses. So Reddit, am I the arsehole? Clearing something out. The adoptive parents and bio dad have a phone number to contact Mike's parents if they want. I have no say if they do or not. I just won't give Mike any information on them. Hatchpatch says, these people are fucking psycho. Block, block, block. Your bio kid might decide for himself to try and find his bio dad one day, but it's your job to defend his privacy until then. Make sure his decision is informed, i.e. he knows that his bio dad is a complete ass. Opie says, I told him everything when his parents decided it was time to tell him who I was really. I didn't make Mike into a villain, just said he left after I told him I was pregnant and never reached out. He's been clear that while I'm his biological mother and Mike is his biological father, he doesn't see either of us as parents. I'm his aunt and Mike is a stranger. Library Mouse says, I hope Mike never finds him. If he does, make sure your nephew gets more details about Mike's actions, so he doesn't give him a chance at all. Beth says, OP should definitely warn the kid's parents in case Mike shows up wanting to play at being dad. Finding someone isn't that hard these days, and if OP is in their lives, even minimally, that will make it easier. Protect the kid. So, sometime later, OP did come in with her update and said, am I the arsehole for denying my ex his son after he abandoned us and I took the choice alone to give him up for adoption? Update. This is probably the one and only update I'll be doing, because to be honest, I got other things to do and have my main Reddit account for lurking. I'm going to start with the important matter. A lot of people were worried about my biological kid and what he wished when it came to Mike. Well, I got his permission to post this. He spoke to Mike once a few days after I told him where he could find Mike. I won't share all the details, only the final decision. There won't be any more contact between them. The kid doesn't want a second dad, and Mike wasn't willing to be in his life unless he had the position of dad. So he's going no contact with Mike. There was more to it, but it's very personal, and I feel it's not my place to share it. The kid and I will continue to have a relationship as aunt and nephew, and he knows whatever he needs medically. I'll always be first in line to give blood, a kidney, etc. For those wondering why Mike is so big into contact with the kid, I found out a few details via his friends. Mike can have more kids, he just hasn't had a stable relationship in years, which I can believe, since I finally had enough and decided to accept going to have coffee with him to get some things squared away. My husband came, of course, but he sat in another table to let me deal with it. I asked him to. The conversation was a shit show, to be honest. Mike brought me flowers and chocolate-covered strawberries, my old favorites. He treated it all like some date. I nipped that bud immediately. I introduced my husband and told him we were very much in love and happy, so I don't appreciate any attempts at unwanted romance. Once we sat down, he started by telling me what I knew about him having failed relationships. That he felt no woman could meet his standards for a wife and mother to his children, since he already saw me as that. He claims he feels guilty for choosing college over me and our baby. He was well aware of the court dates regarding custody and that I was trying to put the baby up for adoption. When he saw me taking care of my stepson, he thought I had chickened out of giving the baby away. Seeing me all caring of our baby boy made him think how great it would be if the three of us could be a family, and maybe have a bigger family down the road. He had the gall to ask me if I would consider divorcing my husband and try to fight for custody of our son. I have to admit, I laughed in his face. I was probably overly cruel, but I had years of stress, heartache, and judgmental encounters to drop on him. I told him all I saw in him was a coward that instead of staying to make adult decisions, decided to run with help of mummy and daddy. That any love I had for him died the day I had to push out a full human being, and instead of knowing I had support from him, there was a big empty spot where the dad was supposed to be. that I almost ruined my life and had to throw away prom, senior pictures, and even graduation because I was far too pregnant to party, appear on the yearbook, or walk onto the stage to get my diploma. He got to party and enjoy life, while I had to fight tooth and nail for an inch of respect. Yet we both had unprotected sex. The only difference is his dick wasn't big enough to pop a baby out or satisfy a woman to begin with. That was a bit mean, but not sorry. After I calmed down, I simply told him I had a happy life with a man that loves me, great stepkids that are the greatest gift, a best friend who lets me be a stepmom to her children, a nephew who I adore and who, despite our history as a biological mother and child, he still loves me as a special aunt rather than hate me. My family is perfect because he's not a part of it, and I have no intention to live in his fantasy, and that I can't wait to get pregnant with my husband's child to add to that perfection. I also told him to leave our biological kid alone. He's made his choice and it's up to him if he ever reaches out for Mike. And also let him know I'll be making a formal complaint to his hospital for his harassment. Good thing my husband took screenshots, because by the time we got home, Mike had deleted all the posts. A lot of his former friends did repost screenshots making fun of him. The silver line in all this is that I've reconnected with my high school classmates, and to be honest, they are great people. Seems Mike is in a handful that stayed in his school hype mindset. It's been about 3 days and no signs of Mike. My husband did get the biggest ego boost when he overheard me going off on Mike and has been insufferable, in a good way. So there's mostly good news. Hopefully one of these days we'll get even more good news, since we're actually excited at the idea of having a baby together. Peach Educational says to the OP, regarding him asking you to divorce your husband and fight together for our son, outside of getting physical, there's practically no overreaction to that. OP says, I almost got physical to be honest, but I had my nails just done. He wasn't worth breaking a nail. Library Mouse says, very few things are worth breaking a nail, but hun, breaking one to hurt that bastard would have been one of those things. OP says, yeah, but he's not worth the $150 bill. He wasn't even worth the $14 bill at the cafe. Library Mouse replied saying, good point. Proper Effective says, of course he didn't pick up the check. OP says, oh, we left before and I paid my part on my husband. Don't know if he paid his. Beth says, let's be honest, meeting his commitments isn't really his thing. This is worthy of one of those Reddit phrases, the lion, the witch, and the audacity of this bitch to say, our son. I just found it wild that he had that fantasy in his head of like a happy family, like he turned up with the chocolate covered strawberries and which she liked in the past, asking her to divorce her husband so they can get for custody of their son. That's crazy, isn't it? But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit. It's got a trigger warning on it of animal cruelty, and I just want to double down on that and saying I've come back after the story, and it is a sad and painful read. I'm going to tell you up front that Milo, the dog in this story, is okay in the end, injured, but okay. But please take the warning seriously. If you think it might affect you, timestamps are always down in the description. It's likely to be the last story of the video. Totally up to you. Thank you so much, and let's crack on with it. And it's titled, Am I the Arsehole Here? For breaking up with my boyfriend because he lost my dog. Hello everyone. This is my first time posting anything on here, and English is not my first language. Please keep in mind I have been crying for the past 2 days. Sorry for any mistakes. Me, 24 female, and my boyfriend, 24 male. Have been together for almost 4 years. We get along okay for the most part. Things like him losing something of mine have happened, but never to this level. I've had my dog, Milo, 12 female, for a whole life. We grew up together and it's really hard for her to get to trust other people. She's always been an anxious girl, but she is the light of my life and was always by my side even in my worst days. 3 years ago, I introduced my boyfriend to my family, which is just my mum and Milo. He and my mum got along okay, but he did not acknowledge Milo in any way, which is fine. I did not expect him to be all over her, considering she does not like that, but I still found it pretty strange because he said he absolutely loved dogs, and to be honest, I believe that because he would always pet dogs when we're outside. Any interaction for the past 3 years with her was limited, but Milo warmed up to him. She would greet him, go to him for pets, which he sometimes gave, and accepted him on our daily walks. 1.5 years ago, Milo got sick. She had a tooth infection, which was pretty bad. Her whole right eye was swollen shut. I asked my boyfriend to take us to the vet because I don't have a car. The vet took care of the infection, gave me some antibiotics to give her every day, and instructions to clean the wound that was left after the vet cleaned the pus. For a couple of weeks, I did not hang out that much with my boyfriend. I took care of Milo because she was not feeling great. One thing that stood out to me was the fact that he seemed pretty pissed at me every time I brought her up, talking about her progress. Looking back, that should have risen some red flags, but I guess I brushed it off. Now that I gave you the short version of the past, this is what's happening in the present. I planned with my mum to go on a short vacation to visit my grandparents. I was talking to my boyfriend about this trip, and I told him who would take care of Milo, my best friend, Alex, 23 male. My boyfriend then offered to take care of her. He was mad I did not come first to him, stating that he loves Milo and wants to go on walks with her. I reluctantly agreed, considering this love for her was out of the blue. The trip was supposed to last 3 days. On day 2, I was talking with my boyfriend on the phone, and he casually says that Milo really likes to stay outside. For me, this felt off, and asked him what he meant. He left my sweet girl outside hours at a time alone, and would check up on her hourly. Mind you, I live in an apartment and I don't have a backyard. Me and my mum left as soon as I told her, and we arrived back home at around 9 p.m. Since then, I blocked my boyfriend on everything and have been searching for my girl. I've printed posters, went out every day for hours at a time, and put her on Facebook groups around my area. If you have any advice of something more I could do, please let me know. Now, he and his friend group say I'm an arsehole because I put my dog above my boyfriend in all of our 4 years of relationship. I know for a fact that this is not true, but I don't have anyone else to ask, besides people that are really close to me and would be biased. I'm sorry for the long post. My mind is all over the place. Now, whether or not it turns out to be true, but my first thought after reading that and going through it is that he's jealous of the dog. We've seen it in the past, and it seems wild to say that because that's such a crazy mindset to get rid of someone's pet because you're jealous of it, but that's the way it certainly feels like in this situation. But Velvety Heart says not the arsehole. Your boyfriend's negligence led to your dog's disappearance, and his lack of care for Milo over the years clearly shows where his priorities lie. Breaking up was justified. Keep searching for Milo. Involve local shelters, vets, and social media for broader reach. Usual Canary says he got rid of his competition. It's that simple. That's why he suddenly loved her out of the blue. It was his opportunity to get rid of the attention he wanted from you, not the arsehole. Good riddance. What a prick. Rakendra says, this was my immediate thought after the backstory. He didn't like that OP was giving more attention to a dog when the dog got sick. The ex-boyfriend seized an opportunity to be rid of the dog. I suspect he did something more nefarious than simply leaving the dog outside all day. OP, you are absolutely choosing your dog over this man, and rightfully so. That's really no question where your priority should be, and you've put your priority in the right place. Your dog has been in your life 3 times longer than you were with this man. Your dog is dependent on you, and you have a responsibility to be your dog's caregiver. Your ex is not your dependent, and you didn't have the same responsibility for him as you do for your dog. Don't listen to anyone who says otherwise. Tipsy Magpie says you need to check all the shelters within 150 miles. It sounds like he just drove Milo out somewhere and dumped her, sadly. I don't believe that she ran away at all. Temporary Star says, and his relatives. OP comes in with her update and says, for the people who wanted to see my girl, and then shares a pic, which is an absolutely beautiful dog, and says, hi, a lot of people asked me for an update. I should have waited until I got some rest, but you were all so helpful and you deserve to know how this ended. I have added a TLDR at the bottom, and please excuse any mistakes. I'm exhausted. Max came today to get his stuff, and some of you might be happy for what you're about to read, but he did not get a single thing back. When he saw me, he started begging me to forgive him, and thanks to you again, I agreed to forgive him if he told me the truth. He just looked at me straight in the face and said, if I'm going to be honest, you won't forgive me. My heart broke all over again, thinking about the worst of things. When he saw me cry, he told me I should get over it because she was already old. But if I really wanted her back, I should get back with him when he trusts me that I really forgave him and I could see her again. I was exhausted, hopeless and angered, and even though I wanted my girl back, I could not look at him, let alone be with him for however long he thought it took me to forgive him. So he left, not telling me a single thing about Milo. I got a call some hours later, and on the other end was a lady who found Milo on the other side of the road. She told me she would wait for me to come because she wanted to pick her up, but she seemed to be in pain. When I got there, I saw her laying there. All my emotions flooded me. My sweet baby, even though she looked so different, was alive. She is now staying overnight at the vet. She has 2 broken ribs and is dehydrated. If everything goes well, she will be home soon. I appreciate each and every one of you that took the time to guide me in this nightmare. Thank you again. I will be pressing charges. Klutzy Book says, I'm so glad Milo is okay. I had a feeling he did something horrible to her. This man is dangerous and has shown you who he is. Please be safe and never let him back into your life. This is a massive stalker / sociopathic behavior. Sneaky Snail says, agreed. I feel like he kicked her and broke her ribs and then she went away to hide. I don't think a car hit would have caused only broken ribs. The ex is a piece of shit and deserves nothing in life. OP, good luck. Best wishes to you and Miss Milo. OP says the vet does not think she was hit by a car. It will be on her file. Thank you. 6 says, you need to file a police report for your country's equivalent of animal cruelty or barring that property damage against the ex. Make him cover Milo's medical expenses. And like the comment said, that sounds like an incredibly dangerous person. The sort of taking the dog as like a hostage situation, like if you get back with me, you'll be able to see your dog again kind of thing, and then saying nothing about it. I'm not sure if you can report that kind of thing to the police or if anything would even happen from it. I would certainly consider it, or calling him out in front of everyone for what he's did, because he's a scary person. I'm not sure I'd be able to control myself around someone like that. But what do you guys make of this situation? Certainly going to keep an eye on Milo's progress from OP's comments and really hope that they're okay and they make a full recovery. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.